Joining us now is ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Michael McCaul of Texas. Good morning. Thanks for being here. So what is China doing right now that could undermine American power in the future?
Well, I think China feels emboldened now. I think they've always tried to undercut democracy. We have seen the really strong statements coming out of President Xi, of the Chinese Communist Party, and Russia, for that matter, condemning the United States. Basically, we are the beacon of hope, freedom, and democracy. They are using this as an opportunity to show their people why democracy doesn't work. So, in a way, what happened on January 6th has undermined our high moral ground, if you will, when they see this chaos and an overrun of the Capitol by insurrectionists and people that are, the angry mob. And it's playing right into their hands. And I find it very disturbing, and I think it's a national security issue, particularly as we move towards, and I'm glad the president finally said a peaceful transition of power, because that's what this country has always been about. And without that, we're going to be weakened as a nation. And when you look at these resignations of national security officials, we're taking our eye off the ball when it comes to China, when it comes to Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And I think we can get this back, but they're going to feast upon this for years with propaganda.
That's quite a message. The Washington Post has this headline this morning, Congressman: China is having a field day with U.S. Capitol chaos. It talks about China's official propagandists barely being able to contain themselves, and asks the question, if you don't allow the storming of your own legislature, they ask, how could you support it in Hong Kong? Your response?
Well, they've always been, they tell Taiwan that democracy doesn't work. They tell the Hong Kongers who are fighting for freedom, who have tried to run for office and now are put in jail, that democracy doesn't work. They persecute the Uyghur Muslims, the Tibetan monks in the Himalayas in India, the South China Sea. All this really plays right into their propaganda machine. And I think, we're all, looking internally in the United States. But if you look externally from a foreign policy standpoint, there was great damage done on January 6th.
And that's the first I've heard you respond to that, sir. To furthermore get you to comment, after we spoke to Alyssa Farrow, who used to be the communications director at the White House, we had her as our guest this morning. She was talking about her time in the White House and seeing other parts of the world and what we looked like when that was happening on Wednesday. Listen.
I have spent time in fragile democracies in other parts of the world, and our country looked like those countries. That is not who we are. It is not what we stand for. And we've got to come together as a country.
Congressman, what were your thoughts when you saw that playing out in our nation's capital on Wednesday?
Well, as a federal prosecutor, it was an act of terrorism. I mean, clear. It needs to be prosecuted as an act of terrorism. I agree with Dan Crenshaw, by the way, and he and I stood together on the floor. This was a political charade. I think our political leaders misled the people that we were somehow going to overturn the election. And I think the angry mob was led to believe that was going to happen. And they showed up on January 6th. And Sandra, when they found out that we were not going to overturn the election, that actually that was unconstitutional to even try to do that, that's when the violence erupted at the Capitol. And I feel for the Capitol Police and the one officer who was killed, the 50 who were injured. I was barricaded in my own office, trapped between the mob, and all I had was a baseball bat to protect myself. That should never have happened. And our political leaders are to blame for this because they lied to the American people, and they got this frenzy all lit up.
Congressman, good to have you on this morning. Glad you're okay. We'll see what the next couple of weeks look like for this president, as he has just said he will not be attending the inauguration. Thanks for coming on this morning.
But the peaceful transition of power is key here for our national security.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.